gamers, today we're back with another guide. My plan is to do 6 guides for all 6 new civs that are coming out, or at the release of this video probably are out. And the first 6 guides I'll be doing are aggressive ones, because I think I don't want to overcomplicate things for everyone by making like double TC or some super crazy builds. These builds I've been cooking up with because I've been playing for the past 5-6 days on Subathon, and I think they're pretty solid. I already released the Byzantine one, the Jeanne d'Arc one, and now I am going to release Order of the Dragon. The next one is going to be Jushi's Legacy, and then Japanese and Ayubids. I'm still cooking up the builds. So, with that being said, let's get started. So I've been playing a lot of Order of the Dragon with 2 TCs, but earlier today I played one where I went with 1 TC aggression. You know, sometimes you don't get the build order correctly when you're making it, but this one worked out really, really well. Usually, it's like, oh, I put too many workers on gold or wood, and then the next game I gotta readjust and figure it out. But this is the first time I've done the 1 TC aggression with Order of the Dragon, and it worked out great. And I thought it was actually pretty good, surprisingly. I thought it was gonna be one of those where it's like, it's all right. You know, probably other builds are better, but it actually worked out pretty strong. And I'll give you guys my thought process behind it. So, the first thing you want to do is send 5 villagers directly onto the sheep, because you are gathering 25% faster. So you only need 5 on food for now, and then 2 on gold. These guys, the 2 on gold, will remain there for like 15-20 minutes. You guys do not need to move these at all from the gold. Just keep them there. Next thing, after that, we're going to be rallying. This is a mist rally. We're going to be rallying onto the food until we are able to age up. And we're going to be aging up with Minework Palace. The chapel is not very good, and I'm assuming it's going to be buffed in the future, because it's just very underwhelming landmark for Order of the Dragon. So from this on out, you can see the gold is slowly stacking, the food is slowly stacking. And remember, 60 food for OOTD villager and 24 seconds to produce. So they're a little bit more expensive. Now we're close to the age up. I'm returning my sheep right here. And in a second, I'll be able to age up. Now, why do I leave 2 on gold? Because you want to get all the upgrades. You want to get the economic upgrades, and you want to get the military upgrades as well. So having 2 on gold will take care of that completely. You don't got to worry about a thing. Here we go, the age up. And you will want to age up with 1 worker. Order of the Dragon villagers also build 20% faster than regular villagers. And you actually don't have resources. If I aged up with... sorry, I'm going to age up with 2, I think. The reason why you don't do like 3 or 4 like other civs do is because, well, number 1, they build faster, so it's okay to have 1 or 2. When I do a more macro build, I leave 1 villager on the landmark. But the reason why I actually don't put 4 is because it's a lot bigger part of your economy that you're building up the landmark with. But also, even if you age up super quickly, you actually won't have resources for anything. So, there's no point to aging up super quickly. I could have aged up a lot quicker, but then I have no resource to produce anything. So, yeah. Now we're going to have 4 workers on food, and we're going to build a mill with 1 of the workers, and you're just going to leave that worker there. You don't want to send it back because you're wasting time. Just build a mill and leave it there. We're going to go on a straggler tree with 4 workers, and we're going to be rallying onto the wood until we have 6 workers for now. The reason why we want 6 workers is we want to be able to produce stables, produce upgrades, other buildings, and then later on we'll add more. The moment the mill finishes, you're going to want to get wheelbarrow. As you can see, the moment mill finished, I had enough for wheelbarrow, which is very nice. And then the next eco upgrade I'm going to get is going to be the double broadaxe. So we got 6 on wood right now. The mine work is almost completed, and the way this build lines up is really nice. As you will see in a second, I will have enough for stables, and once stables is done, I will have enough for a horseman. So mine work finishes, and you want to build your stables with these 2 guys right here. Look at that, 160, perfect, boom. And then we're gonna have just enough food for a horseman, which is really nice. So why not open like man-at-arm or archer or spearman? Well, archers are the strongest unit right now of OOTD. I haven't tried the man-at-arm version, but I really like the horsemen because you force the enemy to defend and you force them to make spearmen, which in return you go for your strongest unit, which is the archer. Another reason why I love stable opening with OOTD is because their horsemen actually do really well against knights from the enemy civs. So if you're playing against French, you do not need to make spearmen. You can just make horsemen, and the horsemen will actually dent them in pretty hard. So for the cost and for production, the horsemen will do really well against the knights, and the enemy won't be able to produce as many knights as you will be able to produce some of the other units. So go with horsemen. Now the horsemen cost 200 food and 40 wood, so they're pretty expensive, so be aware of that. Now once we have 6 on food, we're going to be rallying back onto the food because the horsemen take a lot to produce, so you want to make sure you have constant production. And I think I go up to 12 villagers on food. So now my enemy also went for horsemen, but because his have 125 health, mine have 250, and they do way more damage, I can take those fights. And basically the enemy has no choice against OOTD but to go spearmen. They have to go spearmen. So behind this, you will always make an archer range with the next 150 wood, because that is the response that your opponent just has to do. They don't have an option. Once we have 12 on food, we're gonna re-rally back on wood because we want to get another archer range, and we want to now produce archers, which are going to be pretty expensive. Meanwhile, you're going to be trying to harass as much as you can with your gilded horsemen. I made him pull the villagers off of gold, pull the villagers off of stone, pull the villagers off of berries, so causing a little bit of idle time here and there. And then I'm going to try to prevent this DC as much as possible. And another thing that this horseman opening has done is, instead of him putting TC here to protect the deer and berries, he cannot because it's too far open, so he has to make it near his base, which is denying resources. That is very important. Now you can see right here, I'm going for the iron undermash, just in case I want to like maybe poke under the TC, get some value there. And then the next upgrade I'll be going is, I think, horticulture. We can, you can always hit your opponent a little bit with these horsemen because they do so much damage. So you can always get some value done. Now, the archer production started, and the archers cost 60 food and 100 wood. So again, quite expensive. Now, one thing that I will suggest that can be risky versus some civs, but if you're putting as much pressure like I am right now, and you know that your opponent's scout is here, they might not see this and they might not know about this. But because Order of the Dragon villagers gather 25% faster, if you get survival techniques and go for the boar, you will get insane food income. So right here, I made some horsemen, I'm harassing, I know that his units are here, I decide to go for the boar. I'm getting +1 weapons as well. And that's gonna give me a great food boost. So now I see he's making Desert Raiders, which will debuff my cavalry. So when I fight, I'm trying to snipe the Desert Raiders so it doesn't debuff my cavalry. And also, Desert Raiders are very weak to archers that have 0 armor, so you can also try to snipe them with your archers. Now, one thing there's a second archer range, there's a survival techniques. You usually want to get horticulture before survival techniques, but if you are going for the boar, get survival techniques first because you don't have as many villagers on food. Now, the one thing that's going to take a little bit to get used to is the numbers of Order of the Dragon versus other units. You might look at this and be like, oh, that's an even fight. This fight is not close to even. I will absolutely destroy the army. This 4 horsemen is basically like 8 horsemen and 2 archers versus 2 spearmen, a desert raider, and 2 horsemen. So that's something you'll have to get used to playing with and against Order of the Dragon. sometimes you'll think, oh, I have more units than him, and then you attack and you get dented in. But yeah, you can see the army value on the bottom. I have double the army right now. So I push him off the gold, and now what the goal is, the idea is to attack any resources that are open. So now I'm attacking the gold. Later on, I'll be attacking the food sources and then the wood sources in the end. So I do want to get a couple of more archers because most of my army is in horsemen, and he's now having 4 spearmen plus desert raiders, so I don't necessarily want to fight here. Now, these guys are still on gold, and now we have for a total of 14 on food, and we're re-rallying again on wood because potentially you want to make rams, or maybe you want to make more production or something like that. Now, sometimes your opponent will fully commit to this comp, which is going to be Spearmen Horsemen, and what you want to do is eventually you want to transition to Spearmen. Now, the reason why in general going for defensive Spearmen Horsemen can work is because you can overwhelm your opponent, in this case me, and you can beat down their army, and that's great. But if I don't take really bad fights, eventually I will have an archer mass, I will switch to spearmen, and even 4 spearmen from Order of the Dragon will do insanely well. But in that case, if he transitions to archers, his archer count will be very low. And in that case, my archers can just pick off his, and then I'm fighting Spearmen Archer versus Spearmen Horsemen, which obviously is not going to go too well for him. So right here, he goes for an engage, and you can see the archers do so much damage to the spearmen, picking them off, and they shoot really, really fast as well. So this fight goes, I would say, pretty well for me. I lost horsemen and an archer, and I killed everything else. And if you saw that fight, it looks deceiving. It looks like I have less units or I'm in trouble, but you're definitely not. So this is something you're gonna have to play and get used to playing Order of the Dragon. Now, one thing that you do want to get with Order of the Dragon is +1 melee armor eventually. Not prioritized, but you wanna get it eventually. The reason for that is because your units have so much HP, you actually get more value from armor over time because each unit has more health, so it has potential to stay alive longer. Especially if you're playing against horsemen or something, your archers got way more health, so that +1 armor will be doing a good job keeping your archers alive. Next thing. So I actually made a, not necessarily a mistake, you can still go for siege engineering, but if you do go for spearmen, your spearmen do have an AOE torch attack. So technically you can play Order of the Dragon with just mass units and spearmen and just burn buildings with them, but going for a ram is not necessarily a mistake. You want to go for about a total of 14 or 15 villagers on wood, by the way. What that will allow you is to have enough production buildings to eventually make walls, potentially build rams, and last but not least, to slowly add farms. Whenever you have extra wood, just add a farm or 2, because remember, their gathering rate is really high, so you don't want to be on the outside food forever. Just slowly trickling farms. So 14, 15 villagers on wood is all you need, and after that, just go everything on food. So right now, we're still producing. I'm trying to burn this, and remember, OTD units have 21 torch damage, so you can burn buildings and walls very, very quickly. So right here, that's kind of as far as the build goes. Now you'll just see the fighting. So again, these numbers look similar, but if you look at the numbers on top, I have way more units. The spearmen, it takes 4 gilded archers to 2-shot a spearman, but their attack speed is really quick, so it's very noticeable how fast the enemy spears are dying. So now I commit here, I get some villager damage done, which is always very nice. Now, at this point, I'm realizing that he does not have archer ranges, that he is just continuing with this. So what I decide to do, first of all, I'm trying to snipe the Desert Raider, which I do, so it doesn't debuff my cavalry. But right now, I realize, okay, he is fully committing to this, so I'm just going to transition to Spearmen, which I do in a little bit. So here he's trying to chase me around, and I know that the only food sources he has are right there, so that's kind of the place I want to be attacking in. The spearmen are going down, and now my horsemen are remaining alive. So basically his spearman count is completely reset. So now my horsemen are basically like knights, right? You should look at them like knights, because that's how hard they hit. Now, you see I had 500 wood. So I start a ram, but I'm actually going to delete it in a second. And I decide, yeah, I'm going to throw down 2 barracks. I should have done the 2 barracks a bit earlier. I'm adding another archer range, and from now on, because his unit comp is so heavy into spearmen, horsemen, I'm going to transition fully into Spearmen Archer, and that way he will just get completely countered. So you've seen how the fights were very close up until this point, like trading back and forth. But the next fight is going to be destruction. So you can see I'm adding a little farm right here. I'm making more archers. Now with the triple archer range, you're going to be using all your wood. Now this is the upgrade that I was talking about. Gilded spearman torches deal aerial effect damage, so you can use that to burn buildings later on, or even enemy farms. So right now he has no idea about the spearman switch. I think, at least. Maybe he does? No, there's no archer ranges yet. So, he's just massing units, and if you look, that's a pretty big army now, right? But again, if you look at the value count, I have 10 archers, and look how much damage they're doing even to horsemen with +1 ranged armor. They're doing 7 damage per hit, and they attack every second. So right now, I think is when he saw, yeah, he's making archer range. You can see he is, you know, rushing it with a lot of villagers. But at this point, it's kind of all over. So look at how fast the gate goes down, by the way. Because again, the gilded units are dealing 21 torch damage. So it's very, very nice. Denying the wood, so he has wood only here. He can't have access to it anymore. And now he does some harassment here, but I just pull the villagers, reinforce here, defend. And look at this fight right now. So obviously I have more army supply, but once you have 13 archers, and I'm almost out of horses, I only have, I mean 6 is like 12 horses, right? But at this point, your archers will kill everything. The gilded archers will kill everything in Feudal Age, as long as they survive, as long as you have a lot of them. Now, obviously I'm not saying just go gilded archers and that's it, but at this point, I don't want to necessarily target fire the spearmen because I will overkill quite a bit. So what you can do is you can just start kiting, and just shoot whatever you like. I am target firing here a bit, but then I switch, and I'm just letting them mow down everything while trying to keep them alive and let everything else die if needed, because like I said, their DPS is so high. It is I'm 99% sure after playing a few days with them that the archers from Order of the Dragon are their strongest unit by far in Castle, in Feudal, and in Imperial Age. They do so much damage, and it's so easy to kite with them and kill enemy units. So, oh, I paused the game and the game ended at the same time. So, that's kind of the one TC play. What you want to do is open with horsemen, instantly transition into archers, and if you see that your opponent is going for overwhelming, if you see that your opponent is going with the overwhelming amount of spearmen horsemen, just go double barracks, go spearmen, and then just quit making horses completely. Because if you ever enter a position where you have spearmen archer versus archer horseman or archer spearman, you will win, because your archer will actually destroy his archers extremely quickly, and then your spearman will clear up everything else. You just have to do some target firing. But in general, I think this is a pretty solid build to get you started off on in Season 6 with Order of the Dragon. Regarding how to play against them, my best advice is to just make hard counter units. So if Order of the Dragon goes stables, make sure you have spearmen, not horsemen. If you go horsemen, you will not be winning that interaction. If Order of the Dragon goes for, you know, archers, you have to add your own horsemen and try to get on top of the archers, not just have them in a fight. And even with civs like French, I would probably suggest you to go Spearmen, or Jeanne d'Arc or Rus, because the Horsemen are very, very strong. Now, if you're OTD and you're playing against French and they're still making knights and you're making Horsemen, just continue making Horsemen. You don't need to worry about it. You can go for Spearmen, it's not necessarily wrong, but the Horsemen will provide you with some rating potential, and they will do really well into the knights. I don't think a Horseman beats a knight one-on-one, but it does do crazy amounts of damage, and you should be able to have, early on at least, you should be able to have similar or even more Horsemen than the knights, which is going to allow you to win that fight. Now, after this, if you have a lot of food, what you can do is you can also go to castle, but you can probably end games in feudal. If the opponent has massive amounts of archers and you don't have any horsemen and you're low on spearmen, you can also add some men-at-arms in feudal, which are going to be able to tank for your archers quite a bit. But if the enemy has horsemen, you do want to add spearmen to protect them. That's it. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned a little bit more about OOTD and how to play them. Now go out there and all in some people. That's it. YouTube gamers, check me out on Twitch. I'm probably live right now. Twitch gamers, let's keep going.